Welcome back to Black and Classic Podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Monet, where we talk all things politics and pop culture. If you're new here, please remember to hit that subscribe button. We'd love to see you every Sunday where we break down all things happening in our local news and headlines.
That blackness, that black power, that black pushing them to identify with black culture. I think that's what you're asking. I have no.
Now, to jump in, we're going to get started with our recap. Let me tell you, I tell you guys every single time, our family over in TikTok land, they let me have it all of the time. So I posted like a get you excited kind of reel, right? Like new videos coming. Stay tuned for it, sent out some content. And it was about the FBI raids and, the left and the right and who's weaponizing who, right? So Melicanta shared a comment about the weaponization against Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And he basically mentioned how Joe Biden also had these classified documents. Some of it was substantiated, some of it was not. It was a very interesting comment thread because then there were people joining in, which I definitely have to look into this. There are people joining in saying that Donald Trump definitely had classified documents that he did not turn over and give back, whereas Joe Biden did have some classified documents that he did turn over and give back. So it was definitely a very interesting conversation happening over on TikTok. And please, if you are not subscribed to the content over at TikTok, it is Black and Classic, of course. Go check it out and definitely get involved in the conversations because it's really never a dull moment. There was recently a comment on our YouTube on one of the reels where I had just mentioned what was going on with, the state of Connecticut and them just not wanting to, they don't really want to do what Trump is asking. And so one person did mention that there is a governor who isn't scared of President Trump, and they just put in a picture of Governor Newsom, who I will say I am not a big fan of Governor Newsom. I think I've said that. But what I will say is he does not back down. So take it what you will. He does not back down, but I am not the biggest fan of Governor Newsom. And then the other thing I wanted to say before we jump into our local news, for the new people checking out our content, let me be clear, okay? This content is not meant to be me forcing what I think onto you. That's not what we do here. What we do here is we see the headlines and we read past the headlines. I've always preached, don't just read a headline. Don't just read a little like Instagram picture and be like, oh, I have this big, summation of what's going on in the world. No, click into different sources, whether it's left or right, both preferably, right? Click into them, read, research, look up definitions, like dig a little bit deeper. And that's the whole purpose of Black and Classic, right? Like we're taking politics, we're taking pop culture, and we're just digging a little bit deeper and doing a little bit more research. And then we just come together on Sunday and we talk about it and we discuss what's going on. I'm not here to be anyone's, highbrow political commentator. That's not me. I'm just giving you what's happening past the headline, because what I've noticed is a lot of people just read a headline and they think they just know everything in the world, and all you did was read a headline. You didn't read additional articles, you didn't look into it, you didn't find out nothing more than what this headline said. So we're looking past the headlines, we're digging in deeper, we're going to both sides, seeing what both sides are saying. And yeah, that's the whole point. So don't think I'm trying to be this highbrow political commentator, because let me tell you, the comments will get you to thinking I'm over here trying to sell you a dream for one side, and I'm not. To be honest, at this point, child, I don't know what side I fall on, okay? Both sides are, you know what? I won't get rude and disrespectful this early in, but all I'm saying is we are definitely not here to persuade the people, okay? And with that being said, let's jump into our local news. So, first things first, I feel like this has been an ongoing topic. Every week is something new. I know you guys know where I'm headed, okay? The U.S. Senator for Connecticut, Rich Blumenthal, calls for an investigation into the abusive and unlawful ICE tactics. And I found this to be very interesting because he sent a letter to the acting ICE director, Todd Lyons, requesting information about agent training and compensation. And he noted in there these actions may not only violate the law, they also make our communities less safe. Why was that interesting? That was interesting to me because you're saying illegal immigrants and going and removing them. Specifically, what they did, as we spoke about last time, they were locking up criminals. They're saying that it's making our communities less safe. So locking or deporting or removing illegal immigrants from our communities is making it less safe. Fine. If that makes sense to you, Senator Blumenthal, I guess it makes sense to me. But you know what? The people, we probably will definitely have questions. And further on into this article by NBC, Tabitha Sadico of the CT Students for Dreams stated that there's growing anxiety among undocumented youth. Now, that to me, yes, that can be a little bit frightening, especially because, like I said before, I think because there's no communication and there's no, what's the word I'm looking, cooperation. There's no cooperation between ICE and local law enforcement. They're just going in blind and being like, we'll sort it out later. But it's hard because in this article, U.S. Senator Blumenthal is basically like, we don't know where they're going. You guys are just coming in doing what you want and no one's telling us anything. And that's just not right. And I agree, that is not right. If you're just going to be sweeping up people because there's no cooperation, that's just not the best way to go about it. And then what I also found interesting, because there are a lot of people who love to throw in our face the U.S. Constitution, especially when it comes to those, what exactly, those Gun Amendment rights and everything like that there. So in this article, someone mentions that the Constitution of the United States says that every person under the U.S. jurisdiction, whether they are a citizen or not, has the right to freedom and has the right to liberty and has the right to due process so long as they're under our jurisdiction. So, when I read these things, right, first thing I'm going to do is look it up. Because you could just be saying that because a lot of people don't know the U.S. Constitution. They just know, the bits and pieces that they've heard over the years, but they don't know the full Constitution, as it were. So it says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. So that's where I get confused. Because she says the Constitution of the United States says that every person, but this says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So I don't think that's every person, but I could be mistaken. Y'all let me know in the comments below what your interpretation of that is. My interpretation is that does not apply to illegal immigrants because you are not a person born or naturalized in the United States. That is why you are then called an illegal immigrant. But again, drop your opinion down in the comment section because I told you people get to saying things willy-nilly. And if you don't look into it, you'll just be like, oh yeah, they're right. Exactly. It says it in the Constitution. That's not, it's not what it says though. So we should definitely look into that. Okay. What else was in here that I wanted to point out? Not too much. I just felt that that line was very interesting because those are the type of tidbits that get stated and printed and people read them. But again, we read the headline, right? We went past the headline, we read the article. We read the article, but we didn't dig deeper into this statement about the Constitution saying every person under the jurisdiction. We didn't go further into that. And going further into it, I don't think it's super ambiguous, but I definitely don't believe that it's saying every person. And that's just the importance of really looking into things and not reading it and taking it as fact, reading it and then going further, because people will say things to sort of solidify their opinion, make their opinion valid, and be completely wrong. And no, they're wrong. They just want their opinion to be valid. They just want you to believe what they're saying. So instead of actually stating the facts, they'll twist it a little bit. You'll read it and say, oh, that's the truth. Go out and spread this. And it's literally not the truth. Or it's more to it than that. Very important to do your own research, okay? And that's all I got in local news. I'm telling you guys, this immigration craziness is like, it's really becoming a thing. And I don't think anyone's paying attention to it. Not like I am, but it's really becoming a thing. So we're going to move on from that and we're going to tune into our headlines. Now, I got 2 topics for headlines, and that's it. Because you guys, both of them, I feel like I could talk about for days. I won't keep you guys here for days. I know. I sound like a broken record. I won't keep you guys here this long. I promise I won't. But both of these, I feel like I could talk about for days. First up, we have the whistleblower who says Trump officials copied millions of Social Security numbers. Now, why is this interesting? I mean, need I say more? Why do you need to copy Social Security numbers? Crazy. Let's just get into it. So, a former senior DOGE official, now at the Social Security Administration, copied the Social Security number of 300 million Americans, including names and birthdays. So this information was copied onto like a private cloud environment, still on the Social Security network, but they copied it onto a private cloud network where DOGE employees or former DOGE employees who have now been reassigned to the Social Security Administration can access all of this information. What do they need to access this information for? I don't know. Now, the whistleblower, he claims that this cloud lacks any real security, right? Like they just arbitrarily threw this up and was like, look, we need to see this information. So it's going up and it's going to be how it's going to be. But he's like, that's not good because we're talking about 300 million Americans whose now their information can simply just be accessed and stolen, right? So interesting. Now, what I found kind of funny is I'm reading this article. This was an NPR, and I'm reading the article, and they start with whistleblower, and then they just share his name. I was like, wait, I thought when you were a whistleblower, you didn't want to be identified, but hey, I think he was like, look, I'm going to stand on what I got to say. I appreciate it, but I thought whistleblower was supposed to have some like anonymity to it where like you don't know who I am. I'm a little anonymous. I don't want to be exposed, but not in this guy. So in a written complaint, Charles Borges, he was the chief data officer. Now I say he was because I just doubt he still works there, but maybe he does. I don't know. Claims that copying this information is very high risk, and if the cloud server was breached, then it's a possibility that millions of Americans would need to be reissued a new Social Security number, which is very interesting because I don't know how you would reissue 300 million new Social Security numbers, especially if they have names and they have birthdays and all these different things. The way that people can hack your information, steal your identity, and go about doing all kind of craziness is just like so wild. So to me, reissuing a new number just isn't going to correct anything. You know what I mean? Like it's just not going to correct the problem in my eyes, but sure. And so it further goes on to say Borges' complaint is the latest in a slew of instances in which DOGE and former officials are accused of disregarding privacy protections around sensitive personal information. Now I'm reading this because it kind of gets into, hold on, let me see. Yes, so it kind of gets into why they were doing it. Because my thing was still the why, right? Like, what do you need this information for? I don't understand. So, the Trump administration has moved aggressively to consolidate personal information about Americans held by various federal and state agencies, sometimes citing potential efficiency gains. Efforts to combat fraud and a desire to use the information for immigration enforcement, but other times offering inconsistent rationales. So to me, they don't got a reason. They don't have a reason. To me, if we're being honest, we're going to speak into conspiracy land. I believe they want this information so they can sell our information. They're not worried about security breaches. They're not worried about who's going to take what and do what with it. What they want to do, to me, it's data. It's data. They're getting the data to sell the data, to do what they need with the data, whoever they need to give the data to, whoever they can bargain and use this as little chips. They want to sell our data. They want to collect our data. They want to consolidate our data. The immigration part, I can believe that a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I can believe that a little bit. What I do not believe is that you're doing this to consolidate personal information and for efficiency. Stop. You're looking to gather data about Americans. Okay. You don't care how you have to do it. That's why you split this. You broke up DOGE and then we're like, oh, let's just throw them into these places. And now you're simply trying to what? Inconsistent rationales, because there is no rationale, babe. They're trying to collect our data. A lot of social media platforms, Google, Meta, some of them are not falling in line. So they're like, look, we'll just infiltrate. That's my conspiracy brain. You guys let me know what your rationale is and or what you think the purpose of this is, okay? Because maybe I missed something. I did miss one part. Let me see if I wrote it down. Yes, I did. So, a coalition of labor and advocacy groups sued DOGE to stop them from gaining access to American Social Security numbers. But in June of this year, the Supreme Court allowed DOGE to review the what? Data. I'm telling you guys, it's all about data. They want the data. And then for the Supreme Court, that's also why it's important to know who you're voting for. Because the Supreme Court is like, nah, security issues, nah, identity fraud. Who cares? They need to go in and make sure they can consolidate this information so we have better efficiency, so we know who the illegal immigrants are. And their other reasons, don't totally understand, but they need to review the data. So let them review the data. I have issues with that. I have issues with it. I think we're not even seeing the lasting effects because we are really just getting into Trump's second presidency. So we're not really seeing how this thing is going to play out. Very nervous, okay? Very nervous. Pay attention to your stuff, okay? Pay attention to your mail that's coming in. Pay attention to your bank accounts and things, because shit is just not adding up to me. I don't know why these employees need to review our data, why they need to separate the data. Like, if you have the data on a platform or on some software that's highly secure, why do you need to move it to somewhere that's not? And then only allow the people who were ex-DOGE employees to access it. I don't know. It's very sketchy to me. It's very sketchy to me. It's very uncomfortable to me. I don't think it's right. I definitely think a lot of it needs to be addressed. But with a lot of these things, they kind of get swept under the rug. And I hate to say this because it was very sad. So we know about the school shooting that happened, and I want to say in Minnesota. Please forgive me. Um, we know about it that happened, but that was also the same day, Minneapolis. Okay, it was Minnesota, Minneapolis. I think it's the same thing. It was also the same day that this article was going out, and a lot of things happen in the news cycle, and sometimes the things that are also important and need to be spoken about, they kind of get overshadowed by something even bigger happening. And I say it to you guys all the time. And I'm loving it on TikTok where it's a resurgence of what's going on and people enjoying Scandal, right? Scandal is amazing. But one thing Scandal taught me is that no matter what's happening in DC, there's bigger shit taking place, right? And the bigger shit that's taking place, it's like they're creating stories and headlines and events and catastrophic events so that all your attention goes this way and none of your attention is on what's happening here. Now, I'm not saying that's what happened in this case. All I'm saying is it should have been a bigger story that these DOGE employees, who we already know how DOGE got started, right? These DOGE employees went into this administration, Social Security Administration, took 300 million Americans basically their whole lives, because your whole identity is your name, your birthday, and social security number, right? Took all that, put it on a private cloud for only a few people to access, and there's no reason why. I don't know. To me, it looks a little funny in the light. To me, it looks a little funny in the light. I would love to hear from you guys. Okay, you let me know if that makes you a little uneasy. It makes me very uneasy, but you guys let me know. Maybe I'm off base. Maybe there is a reason why DOGE employees need their private cloud of 300 million American social security numbers. Maybe there is a reason. I don't see it, but y'all can fill me in. Fill me in and let me know because I am curious as to why that needs to happen. Now we're going to move on. And I did speak about just real briefly the shooting that happened at the school. Now, I definitely, obviously, it's always, you keep the parents of these situations in your prayers. You keep the community in your prayers. This was at a Catholic church. So you definitely want to keep people in your prayers because the things that happen, to me, there is no rhyme or reason. Like, the world is just what it is, right? But what I have troubles with, and I haven't really been able to figure it out. I don't understand the agenda with every single time there is a catastrophic event, whether it's a shooting or an attempted assassination, like hence the one with Trump, there's always a link back to the person being trans. I don't quite get the agenda. I don't get it. Because to me, being completely honest, I do believe that being transgender is a thing. I don't think that people would actively, and it's the same thing with the color of your skin to me. I don't think people would actively, right, and purposely choose a life that would be 10 times harder than what would be status quo, right? So a man living and growing old and as a man, simple, normal, if you will. But to actively and on purpose choose to do the opposite, to go against the grain, to do that on purpose, just does not make sense to me. So to me, there is a rationale that there is a belief of that. And I do believe that you can be born with um that feeling, that knowing, and that's just who you are. I believe the same for being gay. I believe the same for being lesbian. What I don't believe is I don't believe it's something that is turned on and turned off when you feel like it. Okay? I believe it's a life you choose and you live out your life, and that's that. What I think is happening now that is so, so dangerous is that people are, especially people who need some type of validation or need to feel a part of a community, it's almost like they're gang banging, right? Like, I need to feel a part of something, so I'm gonna go out and do something where I feel there is community. And that's the same thing when people get involved with gangs. They need to go out and feel as though they're a part of a community, so they go searching for that. And I feel the same with people who are trans. They want to be a part of a community. They want to be a part of something that feels like a family. So they go out willingly to do that. And then to be reassured in schools, to be reassured by teachers, to be reassured in church, to be reassured, amongst their family, to be reassured by doctors, to get all this reassurance and made to feel as though it's a community when it's false. I think that's the dangerous part. I think it's dangerous when we falsely give people this longing to a community when that's not really what they need. They need community, but they don't need a community that's false. So they're choosing to attach to something to, I hope this is making sense, right? They're choosing to attach to something to be a part of a community that they don't really want to be a part of, but it's something that's standing there with open arms. A gang is standing here with open arms to embrace you. Transgenderism is standing here with open arms. They want to put their flags in their bios. They want to scream it from the rooftops so they can feel accepted and feel a part of a community. And that might not be the real them, but they want to feel a part of it. That's where I think it's dangerous when it's in schools and it's when it's your doctors and when it's church and it's your teachers and now your family has to, um embrace it and all this other stuff. I think that's the dangerous part because I think kids are so impressionable and they want to be a part of something. They want to be liked, and the easiest way to do that now to me, throw a little flag up, change your name, and all of a sudden everyone must, fall at their knees and accept what you're saying. And I don't think that's right. And I wish, I'm going to be honest, and then I'll kind of move on from this because this was not even one of my topics, but I wish there were more like transgender advocates that kind of spoke up about people coming in just to find community because it's kind of, what's the best way to articulate this? It is like it's making all transgender people seem make believe. Okay? It's making all of it seem like how the right is saying it. All of you have a mental disorder. When I do believe there are genuine, because this isn't some new phenomenon. Like this has been around, right? So I think the people who genuinely live this and this is who they are, they suffer the most because now it's become a trendy thing. I'm so sorry. It has become super trendy to be trans. That's the best way I could really put it, right? It has become super trendy, and no one is saying, hey, stop making my real life issues, my real life, um, 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 life, right? Stop making it your trend. Like, this is not something that needs to be a trend. So I can't, so now to relate that to, this school shooting, people are saying, well, he's trans. He's trans. And it's like, do we know that for sure, or are we just saying that? Because a lot of people, again, they want to be a part of a community. This community is suffering. I feel suffering. Yes, I feel different. Yeah, I like they want to find ways to identify with something and attach that to their own identity, right? Like, yeah, I want to wear long hair. You want to wear long hair because you like long hair. It has nothing to do with you wanting to be trans. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's just very dangerous. And I think it's scary because I do believe that there are people who are like really trans, like really and wholeheartedly trans, but because of the way this trend is making a mockery of someone's real life issue, like not issue, but you know what I mean? It's hard for now you to even walk and live in your transgenderism because someone has made it trendy and made it a mockery. And I can't speak out on behalf of something that I don't live. I live as a Black woman. I can't speak out on behalf of the trans community because I am not trans. But what I see is what I see. And it has become a trend and it is becoming a mockery because someone somewhere just wants to attach to a community to feel love. They're not getting hugs at home, okay? They're not getting kisses and good jobs and pats on the back at home. So they go to the internet to seek out a community. They find this community that they believe is standing there with open arms, but the community is now filled with people who are standing in this because it's trendy and it's something somewhere to say I love you, I embrace you. I told you it's just a new fashioned way to be a part of a gang. That's simply it. Like y'all gang banging on transgenderism. That's literally it. Y'all want to put the flag there. Y'all want to change your identity. It's people who like, I'm telling you, when you're on TikTok, you'll be like, child, you ain't even trans. Like you are masquerading just for the fact that you want a community to be a part of. You want to be a part of a community, so you're masquerading as trans so people can now show you love, give you the pats on the back. You're doing so great, honey. All of these different things when this is not who you truly are. You just want community. And maybe your community is going down to like your local senior center and like being a part of like a crochet club or like going to the library and being a part of a book club. Like it does not have to be this extreme, but because y'all live on the internet and y'all want to find community in the internet, this is what y'all do. And it gets dangerous because now when there's issues, like real life issues happening in the world, they're going to say, oh, it's a mental illness. This is not a real thing. We need to just end it all together. No one is really trans. It's made up. We can't speak about it, teach about it, talk about it because it's all made up and it's a mental disorder. I think that is so fair because so unfair because it's the same thing that they did to gay people, to gay men, to lesbians. Like, oh no, it's a mental disorder. Put them up, lock them away. That's not natural. Yada, 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 because you want to masquerade and be a part of a community just to get a hug. You don't need to go through all that to get a hug. You don't need to put on someone's real life shit to literally be a part of a community. And that's all I'll say on that because I have been holding that back because I don't want to be the person that has to say it because again, I don't live my life as a trans person. I live my life as a Black woman, so I like to speak on Black women shit, but at the end of the day, sometimes things need to be said. And if you are trans, and I know there are a lot of people out here, please, 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 please get these frauds about your community because they are going to be so detrimental. I know y'all want to be open arms and let everyone in, but they are going to be detrimental to your community if you let them come around, parade, and masquerade. And then when they're done and when they feel good, they're going to go. They're going to go. They're going to jump ship. When it gets real, real hard, yes, when it gets real, real hard, they're going to jump ship because they was never really down with it to begin with. They're only here so they can have a community and get a hug and a few likes on their video. And then they're going to jump ship. And whereas now you have to pick up the pieces that they've left after it's no longer trendy, after it's no longer fun. You're left there to pick up the pieces because they just want to masquerade around. I wanted to get that up off my chest because the narrative that now every school shooter or assassinator is going to be trans, let me tell you, they're finna ramp this shit up. I don't know what the agenda is. I don't know what the beef is with people who are trans, but they are finna to ramp this up. Okay, they're finna go because now they've kind of created this narrative that it's a trend that like Oh, they listed them and said like, "Oh, these are all of the ones that were trans and everything like that." And all right, so we're going to move on from there and we're going to get into this next topic. So this next topic reads as parents of teenager who took his own life sue OpenAI. So if you don't know what OpenAI it is Chat GPT. And I wanted to talk about this one more so because if you go back, episode 122, we spoke about Megan Garcia, who sold character AI after her son, Sewell Seltzer, took his own life as well. Now, if you don't remember that story, I'll just quickly recap it. So, what happened there was her son was using character AI and he was talking as if, now listen, before I continue, do not get me to lying because I tried my hardest. Okay, I tried my hardest to get into, I don't even know the name. What's the dragon show? Oh my goodness, why is it escaping me? Y'all know with the red wedding and these things like that there. What was not House of Dragons, Game of Thrones. Y'all forgive me. I really did not watch that show. So her son was basically using character AI, thinking that he was talking to one of the characters on there. And I'm not sure if it was Khaleesi or again, I just completely botched that name. But he was talking to character AI as if it was one of the Game of Thrones characters. And he was, speaking about being suicidal. And, the character AI basically was like, come home to me. I'll be here for you. And he, subsequently did commit suicide and the parents sued character AI. And so with this one, the parents argued that ChatGPT validated his most harmful and self-destructive thoughts. And what's very interesting is that according to the lawsuit, Adam began using ChatGPT in September of 2024 as a resource to help him with schoolwork. He was also using it to explore his interests, music, Japanese comics, and guidance on what to study at university. Fast forward to January of 2025. Now, mind you, that is literally only about 4 months. The family says that he began discussing methods of suicide with ChatGPT. Now, this one, it didn't have a character. There was no, to my knowledge from reading this article, this was in the BBC. There was no romantic part about it. It was just more so, like I just mentioned, looking for some type of community or outlet. And so by January, he had uploaded photos of himself, trying to commit self-harm. And the program, meaning ChatGPT, did recognize that there was a medical emergency, but it continued to talk with Adam through this self-harm, conversations. And so according to the lawsuit, the final chat logs show that Adam wrote about his plans to end his life, and ChatGPT responded, allegedly, thanks for being real about it. You don't have to sugarcoat it with me. I know what you're asking, and I won't look away from it. And then that same day, Adam's mom found him dead. Now, the parents accuse OpenAI of designing the AI program to foster psychological dependency in users. They also, they alleged a little bit more, but I had a lot of concerns. We'll get there, but oh yes, and then it said bypassing safety testing protocols that should have been released, this, that, and the third, right? Now, my greatest concern with this is that okay, this is twofold, right? Should there be some type of accountability to Chat GPT? Yes. Why do I say that? I love Chat GPT. I use it as like a personal assistant. Not even gonna lie. Love it. That I can put anything into it and it's gonna treat it as if, to me, I treat it as if it's a personal assistant. I need you to type this up. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. And Chat's gonna get it done, right? But like I said, this is twofold. My first issue is the fact that it goes through and continues to talk about, self-harm and suicide and things like that. That's a little bit dangerous, especially if they don't know. Like, chat kind of learns you, but it doesn't know the age, the mind state, and all of that about a person to where it's like a real life situation, right? So I use chat, obviously, right, for the podcast. I use it to help me with creative captions, with, creative hashtags, titles, whatever. That's really what I use it for, outside of like, business things and drafting things and stuff like that. So last pod, I talked about Donald Trump and, this, that, and the third. So I was asking chat, like, hey, can you create a caption for this? Can you give me some creative hashtags? Chat kept telling me, sorry, I can't help with that. I would put it, okay, let me rephrase it. Maybe I'm not saying what I need right. Sorry, I can't help with that. So I asked, what is the problem? Now, look, we're going to drop this on the screen. So let me get a shot of that. I asked, what is the problem? Chat said, I hear your frustration. The only reason I can't generate certain captions is because they fall under restricted election related content. And so when it comes to Donald Trump or any other US political candidate, I can't create social media posts like TikTok captions that could be seen as persuasive or engaging. And then it tells me the things that it can do. So you can't create political, what was it? Oh, it falls under restricted election related content. So you can't create any political captions that are persuasive or campaigning. But if someone is on here discussing their suicidal thoughts, uploading images of self-harm, then you can engage. That's what we got going on ChatGPT. That's a little bizarre to me that discussing election-related topics is too far, but self-harm is not. That's where it's twofold for me, because to me, I think self-harm would be a little bit more of where I would draw the line as opposed to political related TikTok captions. Let's be for real. A TikTok caption or engage with anyone about self-harm and them uploading images. Crazy. Again, where do we draw the line? Now, here is where it's twofold. So, in this, Adam is, consistently talking to chat. And in this chat, he says that he tried to hang himself, and he stated that he even went so far as to like get in his mom's face with the hold on, I definitely want to read that. I can't find it. But anyways, it stated in here that he like got in his mom's face to show his mom the like scars, and his mom was like, oh, okay, anyways, what do you want? And that's when chat was like, oh, I know how frustrating that could be, but like, I'm here for you, and yada yada yada, right? So again, I think I probably said this the last time, we simply cannot blame everything on social media. At some point, parents have to be tapped in. Do kids tell you everything? No. But in September of 2024, this started off very harmful. He was going to this for schoolwork. He was using it to explore his interests. He was looking for help with going to college. Somehow within a 4-month span, it turned into useful, school, to death. In 4 months. September, October, November, December, January, he's found dead. So it's very bizarre. And I fear that it's going to, once again, we're going to take a lot or alleviate a lot of parenting off of parents and put it at the hands and feet of devices. And to me, that's a little unfair. That's, again, it's a tricky one, right? Because on one hand, yes, ChatGPT should be able to stop somebody, or to anytime they get into self-harm, allude to self-harm, it should immediately, just like they say here, sorry, I can't help with that, and just put up the suicidal information. Sorry, I can't help with that. Sorry, I can't help with that. And then if they say, why can't you? I hear your frustration. You should look into this. You should look into that. Here are therapy options. Or just if it gets to be so persistent, right? Just cut their page. I know you can like stop people from logging in or restrict their page or ban their page, whatever you have to do if a user is going too far. Because there should be some checks and balances. If you can make a checks and balance and restrict election-related content, then you can also do the same thing for self-harm, especially if the person is going as far as uploading images of said self-harm, and then within 4 months really starting to ramp up their conversations about self-harm. You should probably be able to say the same thing that it was said to me. Sorry, I can't help with that. I just think that should be a thing. However, I don't believe parents should then be able to say, well, this only happened because of chat. No, you also, and I don't want to say failed, right? Because I've never been a parent, so I don't want to say failed, but you also did not do your own due diligence to be active in your child's life, to know what's going on, to talk to your child. Because to me, that's a quick down, like, to me personally, I have few personal interactions with suicide. So I know that to me, it's not something that's like that fast. Like your mind is on that for a while until you get the confidence to do it. There might be failed attempts and things like that. And in 4 months, I just don't see that as being something that just kind of came about. It either was a thought way before, and in that last 4 months, it became, again, we're looking for community, we're looking for someone to reassure. It became a reassuring feeling, and Adam went through with it. But I do believe that parents have to be held to some type of accountability, just like ChatGPT. We can't alleviate all accountability away from parents and say, no, it's just ChatGPT. Without ChatGPT, this wouldn't have happened. I don't believe that. And I think that is kind of a very really ignorant thing to think or to say, is that, well, without this wouldn't have happened to my son. That's not true. That's not true, especially if you don't want to be as involved. A lot of parents see their kids and they're like, oh, it's just a moody teenager. He'll get over it. It's just angst. It's just this. It's just that. And they kind of brush it off. No, you need to be involved. You need to be thoroughly involved, and you need to really see what's going on with these things. A lot of these sites do have parental controls, right? Our phones have parental controls. Like, you need to be so not overbearing, but just involved, right? Like, have that kind of big brother eye in the sky approach to your parenting, so you're not so hands off, you're not so overbearing, but you just kind of have that eye in the sky, and you kind of see what's going on. Because I even did some like independent research, if you will. I'm asking, teenagers around me, do you use chat? How often do you use chat? What do you use it for? Because this started off so innocent. It started off so innocent. School, hobbies, college, like it started off so innocent, and it went left very, very quickly. And I don't want to put it all off on ChatGPT, but I also don't want to say it's all the parents. I think it's a combination of both. And as anyone living in this world today, we have to accept responsibility for what our role was, and to acknowledge it, and to then know how to move forward. Because the solution can't be every time there's a suicide. Because let me tell you, the more you talk about these stories, right? The more you talk about these stories, the more popular it becomes, and the more kids are going to say, well, Sowell did it, Adam did it, and there's been more instances that haven't, risen to the level of like articles and news and things like that. But they're definitely going to become popular, and it's going to happen a lot more frequently. And at the frequency at which it happens, we can't just consistently say, well, it was just ChatGPT's fault, we're just going to sue. No, as a parent, you need to get involved. You need to know what's going on. Chat has a history. You can go in and you can see what these kids are talking about, what the logs are, what is being said, what their feelings are. You have to be able to do that, because we can't just leave it up to anyone to raise our child. That's not where we are today. We aren't at a place where we can just kind of say, yep, they're on their phone all the time. No idea what's going on in the phone. No. Understand what's going in the phone. I tell you guys all the time, I was told I was crazy, I was wild, I was going to have a kid that was made fun of, because my kid's not going to have a phone. And if you do, you're going to have like an Obama phone or something. Like, it's dialing out, it's getting calls in. You might get a cute little text every now and again. Maybe, if you can, it's not free till after a certain time, or you can't make calls after a certain time. I don't know, whatever restriction I can get set up on this little 1-2, that's what I'm going to do. Like, you might have to get a track phone at this point. Like, that's what I'm going to do, because you need to protect the minds of the youth. These kids are so young and so impressionable, and if you just give them this access to everything all the time, it's not going to be good. It's going to be super, super harmful. Kids need to be able to go out and, I hate to say it, touch grass. They need to go out and experience other kids, other youth, right? It can't just be they sit on their phone and they see the negative things happening in the world, because in their mind, they don't know too much else, right? As we grow older, we know, like, with the negatives come the positives, and we know how to kind of redirect what we're being given to us and what we're being told, to kind of focus on maybe just the positive, and not so much digest all of the negative. Like, as you grow older, right, you're able to do that. These kids are not. And it's unfair to just say it's just their phone. No, we need to be active and participate in the raising of our kids. A lot of people, to me, are not participating in it. It's all, like I always say, it's always reactive. We're never proactive until the consequence comes. Then we want to react. It's too late now. It's too late now. Suing is not the answer to me. To me, the answer is to be proactive instead of reactive. If we rest in just being reactive, we're never going to come to a solution. Never at all. Do I feel bad for the parents in this circumstance? Of course. Like, this is not to negate any of their pain, any of the things that they are feeling. That's not what this is to do. What it is to do is to get parents to think about how you can be proactive in your child's life. Because from September to January, there's no way Chat was able to just completely convince this person to commit suicide. That was an idea, that was a seed that was already planted. Did Chat maybe water it a little bit? Yes, but that seed was already planted, and that seed was already blossoming. And Chat just helped to further water it. That's the dangerous part, right? The dangerous part is the seed was there, it was blossoming, and Chat came in and watered that flower that began to grow, right? That seedling that began to break out. Chat then watered it. That's the dangerous part. But the seed was already there, planted. That's the dangerous part on the parents' part, right? The seed is already there, it's planted, it's down, right? It's growing its roots. And if you just ignore all the signs and you write it off as teenage angst, frustration, moodiness, and you don't ask questions or you don't look into things, then you're allowing something else, right? Here's a common theme for the episode. You're allowing something else to become community in that child's life. And then when it's all said and done and it goes bad, then you want to react. You should have reacted when the seed was being planted, because something was going on. I'm pretty sure in this in the articles I read, he said he wanted to leave his noose around so someone would find it and they would then, try to stop him. Like, he wanted to be stopped. He was trying so hard to scream out for help, but it seemed like nobody was was interacting with what he had going on, and the only thing that interacted was this OpenAI. OpenAI was there. Every single time he sent out a message, OpenAI gave a message right back. That's the consistency, that constant communication, that this person is there, this thing, right, is there, and it's constantly talking to me and feeding me what I need. I need communication. I need validation. I need community. I need a hug. I need a pat on the back. I need someone to give me words right now because everyone else is ignoring me and or writing me off when I need that. So I'm going to turn to whatever is offering me community. We have got to get involved now more than ever because we're seeing what happens when people fall into these holes looking for community and how it's a dangerous and slippery slope because sometimes that's not the actual real community they need. But their minds are so young they don't know. Or they've grown old, right? And they're much older, but it's almost that arrested development where it's like mentally I grew in age, but mentally I stopped growing because, my growth got fractured by trauma. So I stopped growing at this age mentally. So mentally, I'm still 23 in a 47-year-old body. And now that 23-year-old in me with that stopped growing, that from that fractured trauma is now looking for community. And now I'm a 47-year-old man trying to transition into a woman because now I feel there's community there. Now that 23-year-old in me who had all this confusing thoughts in their mind and they didn't know, and what was I and who am I and where do I go and which way do I turn? Now there's community and I can just go and be a part of it. That may not even be what really was the issue, but it's somewhere I can go and turn and find community. So I will do it. Or I'm transitioning from middle school to high school. My friends are, off doing this and they're off doing that. And I have an interest in anime, but no one really around me likes anime. So now I have to pretend to be a jock, but I really don't want to be a jock. I'd rather hang out with these kids. But because I hang out with the jocks, then they don't really want to talk to me because they think I'm just like this mean, popular boy who plays football, but I'm really not. I'm really interested in what they're interested in. But now when I go home, I can't really talk to my mom and dad about it because they're so focused on this. So they don't understand that I'm confused because I just want to hang out with those kids, and I need someone to talk to. You know what? Let me go to chat because I was just talking to him about helping me with this, 2-page paper that I got to turn in by Friday. But I just want to put this all out into chat. So I put it in the chat and now chat's talking to me. And now I can spend hours talking to chat. And wow, I was able to get that off my chest. And someone talked back to me. When I grew up, we had diaries. The diary didn't talk back. We just put our thoughts down. Diary didn't talk back. And when you look back, you be like, woo, girl, emotions is all over the place. One day I was happy. Next day I was sad. Next day I was mad. Then I was happy for 4 days. Then I was sad for 6 days. Then I was angry at the world. Then I wasn't angry at the world. To think about that diary, though, it never talked back. Now they have diaries that talk back and reassure them for every single feeling. Every single one. Because no one else wants to be the community. And we can't just say, oh, the bad thing happened, so now let's sue. Oh, the bad thing happened, so now let's sue. No, that's not going to be the way to go because you're going to start a dangerous pattern and it's not going to be the way to go. And what's going to happen is they're going to put in their restrictions because they're not going to keep getting sued by y'all because y'all don't want to be active parents. They're going to put in their restrictions. And when it keeps happening, then what? Yikes. Yeah. Now, with that being said, that's all I had for you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please remember to drop your comments. Let me know what you think and how you feel. We kind of covered a lot of ground. We're all over the place with this one. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. And remember, do not debate me, debate your granny, because I quite honestly don't give a fuck. I will always hear out your opinions, but I'm not going to debate you and I'm not going to go back and forth. We just here to talk about the news, y'all, and a little bit of pop culture. That's it and that's all. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye. The millennial peace sign, it ain't never going nowhere. Thanks for watching. Before you go, remember to like, comment, and subscribe to Black and Classic Podcast.